I find it really hard to do these like stream of consciousness types of videos, these kind of off the cuff things where I just sit and talk to people. I'm really much better at preparing my words, agonizing over them, and then like performing them. So we're going to try something out and we're going to put it out no matter how good or bad it is, because that's kind of what this whole thing is. Let's talk about ADHD. Let's go back a little bit. Hi, my name is Eye-Sha. I'm a singer, songwriter, and producer based out of Hamilton, Ontario. And even though my medium of art is music, I don't make a lot of it. I don't make a lot of it because of what I now know to be ADHD. This video was sort of spurred on by my last therapist appointment, which was yesterday, where I kind of just accepted my diagnosis. I should mention that I haven't been formally diagnosed, but if you have been formally diagnosed with ADHD, you should know how hard it is to get a diagnosis as a woman, how hard it is to get a diagnosis as a Black woman. And over the past, I think 24 hours, I've just been kind of confronting how much time this neurodivergency has taken away from me. Time is kind of the whole thing with ADHD, I think. I still need to do way more research with it because I still find myself, I mean, look, it's only been 24 hours since I've accepted the diagnoses, but I've been mulling over it for about 5 years now. And despite knowing that I may be a little neurospicy, I've always been really, really hard on myself about my management of time, how I prioritize, and my procrastination. I think I'm kind of making this video to just be honest with myself, to face myself, maybe as a video diary, who knows. In this video, I kind of want to go through the maybe lesser known symptoms of ADHD and to confirm, I think, how really they have stopped me from being my best. But that's moving a little ahead. So let's just get into it. Let me just have a sip of tea. This is from bozemancounseling.org. So I really hope that they're a reputable counseling service. I would assume that they are, but I guess you can't believe everything you see on the internet. I specifically picked this article because as I was looking at the symptoms of ADHD from like the general websites like Mayo Clinic or WebMD, I had a lot of them, but they didn't go into sort of the ones that kind of plague my life. This one did, and it felt very affirming. So this is bozemancounseling.org. I'm a nobody on YouTube, so I'm definitely not sponsored by these folks. Yeah, so the first one is the biggest one, executive functioning deficits. Executive functioning refers to the cognitive and mental abilities that drive behavior. These functions are responsible for processes like planning, organizing, problem solving, decision making, impulse control, task initiation, and emotional regulation. Low levels of dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of pleasure and reward, are thought to play a key role in executive functioning deficits among those with ADHD compared to those with neurotypical brains. I remember in elementary school having my homework in front of me, knowing that I needed to do my homework. It's right beside me, but I couldn't do it. I felt paralysis. There'd be so many other things to do. And the thing is, my mind was racing. Like I was thinking about a lot of things. It was so frustrating because even as a child, I kind of knew I was a very intelligent person. And that's not me like patting myself on the back. It's just I thought a lot and I was aware of a lot and I felt a lot. And so not being able to execute was really hard. I'm Gambian, I'm African, so in a household like that, what is ADHD? It was just characterized as laziness. And I didn't have the language for, I'm not lazy. I can't do this. This has followed me for my entire life. As a musician, all I want to do is sit down on this very expensive computer that I bought, or in front of this very expensive camera that I bought, or in front of this very expensive microphone that I bought, and just sing and make music and produce. And to get myself to that place is so hard to do. Like, I'll have the plan to start at maybe like 12 and it's 6 p.m. and I haven't done anything. This has been just such a frustrating process for me. especially in a society that doesn't really respect slowness. They want everything quickly. I move very slowly. So executive functioning deficit is certainly a thing that shows up for me. It's a ding on the mark of, do I got ADHD? That's like number one for me. Let's move to the next one. Emotional dysregulation. It says here, emotional dysregulation suggests an impaired ability to control emotional responses, which can lead to extreme, all or nothing reactions, as well as reactions that are disproportionate to the situation. Some of the signs of emotional dysregulation include emotional flooding, intense or overwhelming emotions, sudden mood swings, difficulty managing anger, low frustration tolerance, difficulty calming down, and difficulty recovering from negative emotions. Yeah, I was an angry kid. I used to get called the very ableist word, spaz, by my peers in school? Yeah, my peers in school. I just couldn't control my anger. My family members characterized me as angry and sensitive. In certain points of my life, that anger was rewarded. But when we moved to Guelph, which is a predominantly white town, I very quickly learned that the one thing that you don't want to be as a Black woman is angry. So this emotion that I had inside of me that I couldn't really control, if I expressed it, I was seen as like a monster, dysregulated. And you know what? I was dysregulated. I was dealing with a lot. There were a lot of changes happening. There was not a lot of stability in my life. So anger was the only way that I could express that emotion. But I've always been called sensitive, and I've always had a hard time dealing with intense emotions. And I still deal with them to this day. But I shut off anger for a long time. I would even say things like, I don't get angry, which is the furthest thing from the truth. I'm angry all the time. It's kind of hard not to be. The world is burning. What's the next one? Rejection sensitive dysphoria. I didn't even know this one was a thing. That's the worst part. I didn't even know this one was a thing. And baby, do I got this. Rejection sensitive dysphoria has been used to describe a tendency to experience strong emotional responses to perceived or actual rejection or criticism from others, and is commonly associated with ADHD brains. RSD is triggered by the perception that a person has been rejected by important others. It also may be triggered by a sense of failure or disappointment when unable to meet their own high standards or others' expectations. Bro. This one has followed me so much in my adult life. I can't even really explain how hard it's been. So I went to university for classical studies, which is the study of ancient Greece and Rome. I was shit at it. I was shit at essay writing. I was shit at research because, of that procrastinating thing. Like I couldn't manage my time well, and I crashed out of that school. When I felt like I wasn't showing up at my best, I just kind of decided to stop showing up. So I took some years off. I went to school for music, and I did really well at that because I was good at it. And that's the main thing. I was good at it. So I stayed the course on that one, but then I decided to go get my bachelor's degree because the previous school I'd went to was an applied degree, and I was in a school full of uber, super duper talented people. I don't know if it's intimidation, but I felt like I wasn't measuring up. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And by the second semester, I had just fallen into that same pattern again of crashing out. I knew I wasn't doing well. And so I was like, I don't need to do this. These people don't like me anyways. Granted, there was some favoritism happening in that school, which is kind of inevitable in any arts program. It doesn't mean it's good, but it's kind of inevitable. But because I wasn't the favorite, that really messed with my head, and I'm being very vulnerable here. Ooh. Because I wanted someone to say I was good, and no one really did. And so what did I do again? I crashed out. Oh, and in particular, too, with making videos. My God. If I don't get like a view or two, there is no keep going. I will just stop doing it. It really cuts into that like perseverance thing that people say that you need as an artist. The rejection sensitivity that I have deads perseverance. It tells me you shouldn't do this. It makes collaborating hard. When I get criticism, I find it hard not to internalize it. Yeah, so that one really plays a large role in my life. Hyperfocus is the next one, which is an intense fixation on something interesting for an extended period of time. You know what? I do experience this, but mostly with music and mostly with food. So I don't know if this one has stolen time from me. This one is actually kind of a benefit. So there are some positives to this. Number 5 is sleep disturbance. I don't really think I need to explain that. This has been plaguing my life for the past 5 years. My brain is so busy. It takes me about an hour to fall asleep. Within 3 hours, I wake up. It takes me about another hour to fall asleep. And it's a lot, dude. Like, to try to navigate a day with little or interrupted sleep is quite hard. To be a functioning member of society when you're neurodivergent and you have no sleep is really hard. So yeah, that's another check for me. Time blindness. Time blindness is a frequently shared experience of ADHDers and suggests difficulty in accurately perceiving and managing time. So yeah, I was working as an administrative assistant about 8 months ago, and the whole job is about like completing tasks, starting them on time for the senior engineers who I was assisting with their projects. For about a year, I did a really good job at that. And then burnout started to kick and my focus started to decrease. And suddenly I couldn't start tasks. I couldn't finish tasks. I'd go to work at 8. I'd leave at 8 p.m. because that's the time I needed to finish the work. Even making dinner at a decent time, if I'm busy doing something, I'll lose focus and I won't be able to do that. So suddenly I'm eating at like 9 p.m. ADHD takes time from you in a world where time is everything. It sucks. Anxiety. The thing is, like, what millennial do you know who doesn't have anxiety? The thing is that the anxiety can also be so debilitating because it stops me from being present. I'm constantly worried about the future, especially as a musician. Oh my God. I'm constantly worried about putting out the right thing, making the right decisions, making enough music, and I'm actually never doing. Sensory processing issues. The brain's ability to receive, interpret, and respond appropriately to sensory information from the environment. Sensory processing issues can include hypersensitivity to stimuli such as loud noises, bright lights, or certain textures. I'm sensitive to crowds, which is like a tough thing to have when you're a performer. I quite frequently need a lot of time to myself to sort of process. I don't see my friends as much as I would like because I'm so overstimulated by the world. I'm overstimulated by my phone. I'm overstimulated by life. I like to stay inside. And this is also hard as a creative when you're quite literally asked to always be outside, to meet, to network. I fucking hate networking. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Oh my God. So here's why I hate it. For me, it's an onslaught of all of the things that accompany ADHD, which is like anxiety, rejection sensitivity. I'm meeting these people who are supposed to be important, and if they don't react the way that I want them to react to me, I internalize it. I go home, I might cry, I might be in a funk for days. Like it's a lot. Hypersensitivity, that's another check for me. ADHD paralysis or choice paralysis is used to describe the common experience of individuals with ADHD feeling overwhelmed and unable to start or complete tasks. This is kind of like my executive functioning deficit. I experience this on a daily basis with every single task. It's really frustrating as a musician when all I want to do is go on this really expensive computer that I bought and make some beats or record the song that I've been working on for 4 years. I've lost so much time to this paralysis, and I'm just so sad for myself because maybe had I known that's what it was, I would have figured out tools to mitigate it, to give myself grace. Procrastination, do I even have to explain that one? It's been a lifelong battle I've tried so hard to not procrastinate. There's like a breakdown of communication between my brain and my body, is what it feels like. My body says, I'm going to do this. My brain says, no, you got this to do, you got that to do, you got another thing to do. The prime word here is it sucks. I procrastinate quite a bit. Masking. ADHD masking is a way of hiding symptoms through learned behaviors that can be healthy or unhealthy. ADHD masking is conforming to neurotypical standards to avoid the shame and stigma that often surrounds an ADHD diagnosis. So I'm making this video because I'm finally accepting that I have ADHD, and I'm understanding that it's taken a lot of time from me. But let me tell you something. Nobody outside of me would know this about me. Not one person. I do everything I can to show up as my best in every room and in every scenario. I fucking hate networking, but people perceive me as really good at it. I procrastinate, but I make sure I get everything done. I have been masking my entire life, and I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted of conforming to the standards of this neurotypical world. It's why I took a break from work. I had a huge panic attack one day after not getting in a report on time. It's when I realized that I can't do it like this anymore. I really can't. The wild thing about it too is that I've always felt kind of like an alien. Every time I was in a position where I was networking or in a position where I was around people who I didn't know and had to sort of perform for them, I was hyper aware of them, hyper aware of myself, hyper aware of everything that I'm doing. I'm realizing that that's masking. I have a lot of shame for it as well, because I always felt like I wasn't being authentic, when the world doesn't really want you to be authentic. It wants you to perform authenticity. Oh, and finally, perfectionism. Perfectionism is a form of masking. Perfectionism is strongly associated with ADHD. Perfectionism causes individuals to place an extremely high standard on their own performance and in turn may be overly critical of themselves when the standards go unmet. Girl. Overly critical of myself is my whole thing. As a creative, perfectionism shows up in my life, in everything that I do. It's kind of the tether for all of the ways in which ADHD also shows up for me. I want everything to be perfect. I want the music that I make to be perfect. I want the process with which I take to make the music to be perfect. I want people to perceive the music that I make as perfect. I want to perceive the music that I make as perfect. I want my performance to be perfect. Because if it's not perfect, then nobody's gonna give a fuck. And if they don't give a fuck, then I'm never gonna do well as a musician. And if I never do well as a musician, then I won't be able to live the life of comfort that I desire. And if I don't live the life of comfort that I desire, then I'm a disappointment. This is what it is for me. And logically, I know that I'm not perfect. I can't be. But again, it's about that breakdown between my brain and my body. The breakdown of communication, that is. My body knows it's not perfect. My brain is well, why would you even bother if you're not perfect? So then it feeds into also that ADHD paralysis. Why should you even try? It's not gonna be perfect. No one's gonna care. And so this is what I mean by ADHD has stolen so much time from me. I've wanted to make videos on YouTube since the existence of YouTube. I've bought countless cameras. I've actually filmed countless videos and never posted them up. And it's quite a shame because I do love talking. Not always to people, but there's so many songs that I've almost written that I haven't finished because I'm worried that nobody's gonna care. There's so many songs that I've produced that I haven't put out. So right now I'm taking space to kind of let this diagnosis sit in my body. But I want to end this video with compassion. I've spent so much of my life berating myself for something that is not my fault. It's not my fault that my brain works the way that it does. And it's not my fault that I procrastinate. And it's not my fault that I'm paralyzed by ADHD. It's not my fault. So moving forward, I really want to be kinder and gentle with myself. And I'll be going to more therapy to figure out what that looks like, obviously. And what it looks like to be compassionate with yourself when you're neurodivergent. But I also want to say that I'm tired of living in fear. I'm tired of not expanding, not meeting my full potential because I'm scared. I know what I'm capable of, and it's so frustrating to know what you're capable of, but to not be able to reach it. And it's so close to you, but you can't reach it. So for the duration of this year, I'm going to do my best to reach it. I'm going to be posting videos once a week of me singing, talking, doing whatever. Doesn't matter. And they don't have to be perfect. I'm going to be making more music. I'm going to be releasing more music. I guess maybe it'll be a little bit of exposure therapy. Because I kind of just need to write it out. I need to learn how to do things afraid. I need to learn how to do things and not be perfect at them. And I need to learn. And if you're watching this, if anybody's watching this, I want you to hold me accountable to it, because I deserve to grow into the version of myself that I want to be. And I don't want ADHD to take up any more of my time. Yeah. So, thank you for watching my video. I'll have more on the way. Mainly, I'm a musician and I do have some songs on streaming platforms, and it'd be lovely if you could go listen to them. I am on there as Eye-Sha, so it's EYE-SHA, and they're pretty fun songs, and I'll definitely be putting more out. If you do like them, I would really appreciate it if you could encourage me. I do not have that internal validation mechanism, so send me some compliments. Additionally, this is a really cool pendant I'm wearing by August Black, a very, very talented Hamilton artist who makes these really cool gemstones. So I'll link them in the video description box as well, because we gotta support local artists. So talk soon. This is like such a disjointed video. I really don't do this. I'm usually so much more rehearsed. So this is hard for me, but yeah, thank you for watching. Oy vey.